Hi, Eric Schonfeld here with TechCrunch TV. Today I'm going to be speaking with John Podesta, the chairman of the Center for American Progress, for a new project that they have where they want to convince the White House to scan the Library of Congress. John is the former chief of staff under President Clinton. John, thanks for joining us via phone. Can you tell us a little bit about this project?
Yeah, Eric, thanks first of all for having me on. And this is a joint project of the Center for American Progress and publicresources.org, led by myself and Carl Malamud, who leads public resources. And what we have done is suggested to the White House that the vast holdings of the federal government ought to be put online, not just the Library of Congress, but all the holdings from the National Archives to the Smithsonian, the Government Printing Office, the National Library of Medicine, to create really a universal national library, sort of akin to the way the Library of Congress got started when Thomas Jefferson first gave his vast collection of books.
Now, I'm kind of surprised this hasn't been done yet.
Well, it's been done in fits and starts and dribs and drabs and pieces and puzzles, but the overall attempt to scope the size of the holdings, who's holding what, the kinds of not just the books and records, but the images, the videos, the other kind of documents that are available that are owned by the United States has never. No one's ever really attempted to get a hold of all that, and so we think this is an effort that's akin to when President Roosevelt really created the archives and told the archivists to go sit down with all of the federal agencies and begin to pull together the records of the United States for historical purposes and for economic purposes, really.
How many documents are there, and how many have been digitized already?
Well, the short answer to the former is billions, and the answer to the latter is nobody knows. The Library of Congress has an active program to digitize some of its important collections, as does the archives. But really, we're really just talking about sampling at this stage in terms of what the overall holdings of the federal government are.
Any idea how much it would cost to digitize all these documents?
That's why we've asked for a first step, which is to convene a commission or a cabinet level interagency process, which would scope important questions, including how much would it cost, what's the economic upside. Carl and I believe that there's a very, very substantial upside in terms of innovation, the use of scientific material, the public access to the information, in addition to the public value of just being able to have access to the records of, censuses going back for a long period of time, the holdings of the U.S. Department of Agriculture for a long period of time. If I could, Eric, I might, to draw an analogy, when I was in the White House with President Clinton, we declassified over 1 billion historical documents, which has been, extremely valuable to historians. And one of those projects, which was led by Vice President Gore, was to declassify the overhead satellite imagery of the Argonne and Lanyard satellite systems, the intelligence systems that go back to the 60s. That's been an incredible resource to scientists who are trying to study what's happened over the past 30, 40 years, particularly on climate change in the environmental arena. And again, in the nooks and crannies of the federal government, there's all kinds of information and data like that, and it's time that we try to collect it.
Well, I think it's a no-brainer, and certainly for our audience, I think it's just going to be surprised that this hasn't happened yet. But there are existing projects, private projects by the Internet Archive and by Google to digitize many documents, many books, across the world. Why not leverage those projects that are existing? Why not just have Google do it?
Well, I think that's an important start, and I think that this should be done in a way with two purposes in mind. One, in the most cost-effective way, so where this is being handled by other nonprofits or for-profits, fine. That ought to be considered as part of the overall material that's made available to people. But I think the federal government is unique in one regard, which is it has these tremendous holdings of works that are not copyrighted subject matter because they're They've been created by the United States government
Right.
itself. They're not copyrighted works. Google may have little or no interest in digitizing them, and those are still important historical works, and they're important from a scientific and economic perspective. So
Why don't
I'd
you
like to
cut a
see
deal with
work
Google?
together.
Here's a proposal. You call off the antitrust investigations of Google, and in turn, they digitize all of the government's documents for free, and they make it available to everyone. What do you think about that proposal?
that would, wish that I had that power, but
I bet you they do it. I bet you they do it.
I don't. Who knows whether Google would find that to be a sort of a fair compromise? But look, I think there's room in here for that kind of activity by the tech community, by again in the nonprofit space, by the librarians in the United States who are active and interested in this. But I think in order to get the full sweep and scope of the federal holdings, it's going to take presidential initiative. He's going to have to get his gang involved, and even if that's in cooperation with some of these other efforts, including Google, they're going to. I think they got to step up their game and spend some more time thinking through how you can do this and preserve this information in a way that will be archived for generations.
Right. Well, John, I think that this is a noble effort, and we support you in digitizing all the records of the government, and anything we can do to help, just let us know. And thank you for joining us.
Great. Thanks for having me on, Eric.